Yes, guys, welcome back to flatcapeurotalk. Doing a bit of a review of the entire transfer window here, and I am going to be joined by Darius for this one. To be honest, Darius, a very busy January transfer window and a lot to make sense of. In fact, I think people will be quite surprised by a certain transfer that I even left out of kind of my
Mm,
top 5 favorite transfers. There were so many
mm.
transfers to kind of be a fan of that we've kind of broken down our 5 favorite kind of transfers or maybe even best transfers. And then we're also breaking down our 5 worst transfers. And then also maybe just talking about maybe the winners and losers kind of up the transfer window. But
Mm.
Darius, how you keeping, my man?
I'm good. Sorry I'm late, by the way. I had to go and say my goodbyes to Steve Hitchin before he left the Hotspur way. Obviously, me and
Put
him
some
have a great
flowers on the
relationship.
grave.
He gave me a few scouting ideas and scouting inspirations. So had to go and say my goodbyes. But I'm here now, and I'm very, very excited to talk about this because you're actually so right. This January window in particular, because I noticed the last couple have been kind of boring. This one has been like really, really good. And in terms of like just quality of signings, but also deadline day, there was like a few real like nail biting deadline signings, like right to the wire, and even the Liverpool one that didn't go through. So no, I fully enjoyed this January, and we made signings as well. So what's there
Yeah.
not to be happy about?
What's there not to be happy about? Catman Jess is in the building here. Welcome to the Flat Cap Army, my man. 90 more subs till 1K. I know it's actually kind of flying at the
It's
moment.
crazy.
That Bentancur video just was unbelievable. I will say, didn't even feel like my best. I guess maybe that's just the life.
Mm.
Sometimes there's
When you're
certain videos.
deprived of the signings, you just see Jack from Flat Cap Euro talk about the signing that we
It
finally
was it
made.
was it was
Can't
very
turn it down, mate.
it was very humbling and very nice to see the huge jump in subs as well as views and everything.
It's
But I would
amazing.
say like it was kind of funny. Some of the videos I released that did so well, I was kind of like, feel like I did so much better on a like on another
Yeah.
video before and things like that. I think that's how
It
the
always
life
happens though,
is.
isn't it? It's the ones that you don't think will sort of explode that really do explode. So
Right.
no,
No.
you fully deserve it. You are an absolutely amazing sort of knowledgeable
Crazy.
person in football. So it's fully deserved, and I'm pretty sure everybody in the comments do agree with me as well. So big up to Flat Cup, big up to Flat Cup.
But crazy, everybody. I would just say Champions League watch alongs and everything happening very, very soon. Looking forward to that. Just plenty of content coming out very, very soon, especially while we approach the 1K. But I just want to say, everybody,
Mm,
extremely thankful for the Flat Cap Army. Once we get there, I'll release a very, very nice video about it just to thank you all. But just want to say, even just at the stage we are right now, just thank you so much, Flat Cap Army. Absolute legends really have stood by me and been very, very kind and generous to me. But Paro Miguel Escobardo, absolute legend as well. Just want to say he's a true goat of the Harris Army as well as the Flat Cap Army. Been here since
mm.
the beginning. Big yourself up, Para Miguel and Catman. Spurs Savage, good to see you, my man. Wayne Bonner, good to see you. Just making sure I'm not missing anybody else, but we're kind of just going back and forth. Alexander Hilton, good to see you as well. And then we do have Dino Dinosaur saying the Jack and Darius Premier League tag team. Did
I like that.
Woolwich did Woolwich have no money, or was Vlahovic their only target? It seemed like they put all their eggs in the Vlahovic basket by the looks of
Yeah.
it. And Paratici, as people have said, was spitting 12 pizzas at once, 12 plates at once, and
Mm.
had different things in mind. So it seems like that's all they were going for. We will talk about that later, though. Dino Dinosaur, big up, my man. And Mac, good to see you. James Bushel, good to see you. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, James. Good to see you as well, Graham and Spurs Savage. But everybody, let's break down these January kind of rankings of the best and worst transfers. Everybody, as always, if you are new to the stream, please hit that sub button. If you are also enjoying maybe the stream, hit that like as well. But let's break this down, everybody. We do have our best January sort of transfers, and maybe we'll go from, I don't know. Maybe we'll start, go a bit different. Instead of going from maybe our least, our number 5 to number 1, we'll go number 1 to number 5, just to start a
I
bit
like that.
interesting, start a bit hot. You've gone for Bruno Guimaraes here. I've left out Bruno Guimaraes on this one. And the reason being is, do I think this is the best transfer for Newcastle and the most unlikely player I could ever see in a Newcastle kit? Yes. It's almost like those videos of seeing like De Bruyne and a Newcastle kit, like, things just looks wrong. It just doesn't make sense. I feel that way with Bruno Guimaraes. My only thing is that you're signing a player for a team that is still deep in the relegation battle. Like, they're not, it's not like they have a ton of games in hand. I think they have 21 games played.
Mm.
They still have a lot to go. And you're kind of thinking, like, do they really need I don't know. It's just such a high profile signing that in case they do get relegated, that signing goes out the door and they would have to sell him. So I'm just a bit worried kind of about that signing. But you've put him in. I'm not sure if he's exactly your number one or your best signing, but you've put him in your top 5 sort of kind of best signings of the window. Explain. I think I know the answer, but explain.
He's my number one, definitely. I think he'd probably be your number 0, Jack. I think you've probably gassed up Bruno Guimaraes far too much. And you know what? If I ever think of a player in association,
maybe I'm just a bit salty. That's why I left him out. Maybe I'm just
no, I was just about to say, you were the person that sort of highlighted how good he was to me, because I always saw him around the team, but there's always sort of Lyon players that always seem to stand out, and I actually have been sold and have gone before him. For example, I mean, Ryan Cherki seems to be spoken about more than Bruno Guimaraes, and I think Guimaraes is a much better player, but obviously Ryan Cherki is a fantastic player in himself. But no, I think in terms of the reasoning why I chose him for number one, it's just sort of like, I don't see Newcastle getting relegated with this signing. I just think it's that good of a signing that it sort of almost confirms that they are safe. I just think that when you look at the way he plays and his skill set and basically being good at pretty much everything that a midfielder needs to be good at, I just struggle to see how they won't get better and score goals. And I completely see where you're coming from in terms of the quality, the level of signing to not even come like sort of be that out of the relegation battle, not even out of the relegation battle. I think they're still in the relegation zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Just doesn't feel like a signing that's real, like to me.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like
crazy.
real life.
I think
it doesn't feel like real life.
If you did have the 40 million and you were in that sort of thing, you'd probably want to go for like an elite striker. Probably if you're a relegation side, just to sort of get the goals in to sort of confirm that status. But I think that it's happened now. It's one of the wildest signings, like you said, I've seen in a long time. Arsenal were the only team that I saw really linked with him heavily, other than Newcastle. So I'm happy that he's gone to Newcastle, to be honest with you. But I just think it's in terms of that sort of change in the tide for Newcastle. I think that he genuinely does almost confirm them being safe. I think that he will fit in straight away, and I think he will probably start straight away, and he will be fantastic. So for me, it's just about sort of what that does for the team, and that will be so worth it, because that, whatever it is, 33 million, 40 million pounds that they spent, if it saves them and then they can build a squad around him to sort of almost instantly compete for the top sort of positions in the league, then we're all going to look at this and say, yeah, it was the best signing to make. So yeah, I have to go number one for him. I think it's a no-brainer in my opinion.
For me, I just can't make sense of it, because I think I'm just so salty. So
it's crazy.
Hurt because the fee that they got him for was what I kind of predicted Spurs could get. The options that Lyon were looking at in terms of taking players back, they took back in Dembele, which I kind of thought maybe we could, somehow finesse some sort of situation where we give back in Dembele for free. We get Bruno Guimaraes maybe for like 30 million just flat or something like that. I don't know. It just seemed actually it was that easy to get him through the door at Spurs, and somehow Newcastle have done it. So maybe I'm a bit salty about it. My only thing is that it just feels like for a team like Newcastle, who really are like, they need to just win games just right away. They just need to start winning games. And you sign a player like that, it would be like signing Tony Cruz for, like Newcastle. For me, it just kind of just feels like too good of a player for a team in that sort of situation. And
but you can just imagine it working straight away, sort of. And
but then, that's right. Would Tony Cruz would do a job right away? I think he probably would. I think
it's sort of the seamless. I can just imagine sort of Bruno picking out the passes that he I've seen some of the passes that he's made, threaded passes in particular, that you think, how on earth have you even seen that? And then second of all, how have you even managed to sort of execute that pass? Him sort of passing into Alan Saint-Maximin, even Miguel Almiron, even Joe Linton. I think that it will do enough to sort of, you can play a counter-attacking style of football, and I also think they can now play sort of a more possession-based style of football with him. And that's sort of what Eddie Howe wants to go for anyway. So it just gives him variety. Honestly, I can't believe I didn't really see this guy as much as you saw him. Like, as I didn't rate him as highly as you rated him, because
he's under the radar. He was kind of like gold underneath the mud. It kind of felt like kind of player. I'm actually looking forward to the fact that even in training sessions, John Joe Shelby won't any longer feel like the most technically gifted player anymore. I think that'll be funny. He'll feel very.
And that's a lot of distribution and passing ability between those two players as well in midfield. So
I think he'll get pushed out. He'll get pushed out by Bruno.
Definitely.
Bruno will do everything that he can't really. But My first choice is Robin Gosens, and for this reason, I've kind of gone for Robin Gosens because I feel like it's a statement kind of signing by Inter Milan. It's a signing that kind of scares me because they're at the top of the table. They're 4 points ahead of Napoli and AC Milan, and they've just signed the best fullback or best wingback for a back three, if not of world football on the left side. He might be the best one in world football. You could even argue you could make a case for Robin Gosens, like in that sort of scenario. Like if you're playing back three, you want an attacking wing back on the left side there. Robin Gosens probably in your top three kind of short list when it comes to that. And so I just feel like that was a ridiculous sort of signing. And it just really scares me, the fact that now that Inter Milan, they're 4 points ahead. They have Denzel Dumfries, who's having a great season as well on the right. They have Federico DiMarco, who's from Verona, who's a very talented Italian player, who's kind of the backup, I feel like, to Gosens. I just think it's an unbelievable signing. I think it's like a signing that's like going to win them kind of the title kind of sort of thing. And it's that signing that like makes me think, wow, I thought Inter were going to fall off the edge here. Once Conte left, once Lukaku left, once Lautaro Martinez we all thought he was going to leave. Just kind of makes me think maybe Inter Milan are kind of to be reckoned with. And like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird just statement signing for me. And that's why I kind of like that Gosens signing. It knocks out Atalanta out of the race for any sort of like, comeback here. It knocks out, I think, the other teams. I know that Napoli and AC Milan have had great seasons, but like, this is a really scary signing. I just think it's a very scary signing. And then also as well, Darius, my whole reason I think it's number one, when you think about it, Inter Milan, if they win 2 Serie A titles off the bounce, that will be big for them.
Very impressive, especially off the bounce of Conte leaving last year as well.
Right. And so this sort of signing, I think, could win them the title. This sort of signing, I think, wins them the title. So
it's one of the ones. It was pretty late in the window, I'm pretty sure. I know that it wasn't sort of early on, but why on earth would Atalanta do that? I mean, it's not only cover on the left, but let's not lie, it's cover on the right side as well, because he can play right wing back just as well as he can play left wing back. I mean, like he said, the only sort of player in that league that I would put above him in that position is maybe Teo Hernandez, but you're never going to get him out of AC Milan. So for you to sort of get Robin Gosens out of
the next best one,
Atalanta, yeah. And also, like you said, in terms of fitting a formation and a system, it's almost like a jigsaw piece, isn't it? He's going to bomb down that left wing. He's going to be absolutely fantastic linking up with Perisic and everybody else and all the players that they've got, to be fair. Because again, Correa's been kind of quiet. He started off hot, Correa, been kind of quiet, but they've got a lot of players that you don't really realize can have a big influence. And I think you're right. I mean, they're through to the next round in the Champions League as well, aren't they? They're in the knockouts of the Champions League as well. So it's bodies for that as well. I just think that it does confirm the league. It's definitely in my top 5. Like you said, it's number 4 for me. It's an unreal signing. The only thing for me is, like, does it confirm the title? And that's why I wouldn't put it as my number 1. I think it does, but at the same time, I do believe that there's other signings in, and I know the teams are quite far away, but in terms of for the future, like your number 3, for example, I think that will have a bigger, more longer lasting influence in that league than Robin Gosens was. But regardless of that, he's an amazing player. Since the Euros, I've been screaming. He was the best left back in the Euros for me. He was amazing. So yeah, no, 100% agree with you, mate. Inter Milan look better. They do look almost better than
I just
what
think
they were
on one wing,
squad wise.
Dumfries on one wing, Gosens on the other. That's just terrifying. I think it's
terrifying. Crazy. It's very, very good. I'm very impressed by Inter, especially to sell Lukaku and still probably be just as good, if not better. It's impressive to see that.
No, it's like become a team that I would just instantly want to have become my best sort of FIFA team. That team that you just feel like you just wouldn't lose with, kind of team when you think about that sort of signing.
100%.
My second one, I'll go first here on this, is Sardar Azmoun, and it's because it's a guy that I kind of sung his name for some time, and he's signed. He was going to be on a free in the summer, but Leverkusen have signed him for £3.8 million. £3.8 million. They just signed him for nothing, and he's a player that I feel like could have easily been actually to a degree a very class backup number 9 to Harry Kane, if not second striker. He has an unbelievable vertical kind of leap and like jumping ability. He has really good athletic sort of traits, a lot quicker than you think. I think he's like 6 feet 3 inches. He has just basically all the markings of a good number 9. He has been a good number 9 for Zenit for quite a long time. He's been kind of banging the goals. His goal record there, I feel like, is better than you might actually think, especially I know in the Russian Premier League, you kind of think players would sort of clean up in that league, and he kind of has. And I think that's a sort of also a good marking. I think he'll make the transition the Bundesliga just fine. And so this player playing alongside Patrick Schick, I think is just ridiculous. I think this is also as well kind of in the theme of Inter Milan. Leverkusen, I believe, are in 3rd place in the Bundesliga at this stage. So like
really
if
well.
they sign a player like this for 3.8 million pounds, I think they're certifying that they will get that Champions League spot. They will get that Champions League spot in the Bundesliga. And the Bundesliga has been a really topsy-turvy kind of league. There are a lot of teams that are doing really poor that normally wouldn't be. There's kind of been a lot of fluctuation up and down the table. And Leverkusen, with this sort of signing for me, I actually feel like kind of will certify them in that 3rd spot in the Bundesliga. So I actually think it's a great signing. By Leverkusen. So I've gone that for 2nd. You've gone for a very, I think, a very
some
great
people
signing.
may not
The
like this
backup to
one.
Mane. The backup to Mane, Mane's replacement in the future, Luis Diaz. That's your number 2. Explain.
It's 100%. Before I talk about Diaz, just on sort of Asmun and strikers in the league and in the Bundesliga in particular, I think that, and I don't mean to say this in disrespect to the Bundesliga, because the Bundesliga is personally my 2nd favorite league, but the defensive quality and sort of the fact that there's so much advocacy for a high line. It's the worst league defensively out of the top 5. I think that when you have a very, 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 very good striker, you will finish very high in the league, as shown by sort of Bayern Munich. Obviously, Bayern Munich, but Lewandowski's been there the whole time, wins the league. They win the league every single year. Marco Reus, he was at Dortmund when he was there. They won the league. Andre Silva, Leipzig, when he's doing, at Frankfurt, when he's doing absolute madness of numbers, they finish sort of in the top 5. There's loads of examples. Schick, for example, now for Bayer Leverkusen, Haaland for Dortmund now. I think that when you buy a striker in the Bundesliga, if they are a very, very good striker who knows where the goal is, it just automatically puts you in a position to finish high in that league. So I think, again, Salah Asmun and Patrick Schick is a dangerous, dangerous strike partnership, and I think it could be very good. But no, talk on Luis Diaz. I mean, I'm sorry, guys, to bring it up. And The Athletic sort of released a little bit of an article sort of explaining how Liverpool managed to sort of hijack us. And I mean, can't hate the game. Can't have to hate the player. Can't hate the game. Spend all that time putting in the effort. Somebody looks over your shoulder to cheat on your test and they get a higher grade than you. You're not going to be happy, but it happens. I mean, it really does happen. It's unfortunate, but I can't get angry at Liverpool for sort of bamboozling Tottenham and sneaking in and making that signing. If we had done the same to a different club, for example, Rafinha with West Ham, if we had gone and bid 50 million and taken Rafinha off West Ham's hands, we'd be laughing at them. So unfortunately, we got done. The reason I'm so mad is not even the fact that we got done, it's the play that we got done by. Luis Diaz, I think, will be one of those players that fits into Liverpool again quite seamlessly. And it just makes me, again, sort of, it reinstates how good Liverpool's transfer policy is. And they have a target, they have a player profile, and they stick to that profile. And if they don't get their target, then it is onto the second target. And Luis Diaz was an obvious target for them. They would have most likely, I'm 95% sure they would have bid for him in the summer. They saw Tottenham put in all the effort to get a fee lower. They saw that Tottenham were able to get a fee lower and thought, well, we don't mind paying that price. So they did it. And to be honest with you, it's probably the perfect replacement for Mane. I mean, a guy who can score goals by the bucketful, skillful, quick, sort of dynamic, hardworking. I think he's going to, especially next season, maybe not this season, because I think Mane will keep his place this season, but next season, I think he's going to start. And then I think after next season, you'll probably see Firmino and Mane hit the door and Salah get a new contract. That's what I think this Luis Diaz deal sort of signifies, is they know out of the three who they want to keep and who they're going to give another contract to. The other two, I think they found their replacement already. So I think it's a great signing. Can't be mad at Liverpool. They did their thing. And we, unfortunately, we're the victim of it. So yeah, it's hard, but I mean, we still got another signing in sort of a similar position. So I'm not that mad, but he's a fantastic player. And I only sort of got whiffed of him from that City game where he sort of took the ball from one wing to the other and finished it fantastically. So yeah, he's going to fit in fine. He's going to be an amazing signing for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's going to be an unbelievable replacement for Mane. You probably look, if the pandemic didn't ever happen, they probably would have sold on maybe one of
Yeah,
Mane or Salah. And
yeah.
so maybe let's say Mane goes, Luis Diaz would have been that replacement. And they weren't able to replace them once the pandemic happened. I think this has now been that moment of recovery for them. Luis Diaz is going to be Mane's replacement. I think it's a great sort of replacement. We'll see how it works out for them. I see it working out for them because he's almost picturesque, kind of similar to
So true. Perfect for
Mane in
Klopp,
so
isn't
many
he?
ways. I see it working out. I
Yeah.
think I'm kind of with you there. I
It's
think it's a great signing.
it's another transfer where you sort of
Exactly.
see the price range and the player and you think, yeah, he's a good player, but people forget sort of the quality that Klopp and Conte are very similar in that sense, where they will improve players beyond belief, and Klopp will take that player, a guy who's already can score 14 goals and 4 assists, and that Premier League. I mean, Bruno Fernandes sort of jumped over quite seamlessly and kept his numbers up. So I think Luis Diaz is going to do the same, mate. I think next season he'll probably score 15 goals, and I won't be surprised personally. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing him in the league. I can't hate this signing. I'm sorry, even though he was meant to come to us.
Liverpool have an unbelievable scouting department, and
Yeah,
they don't really ever really get it wrong. They really don't get it wrong.
no.
Dusan Vlahovic for me as my third sort of signing. The reason I've gone for this as well is, I think what's funny is the fee. You're kind of like, no, like I mean, that you're kind of like, you almost kind of want to find something wrong with that fee, where you're kind of like, is that paying too much? Is that too much money? At the end of the day, what I kind of likened it to was, it's a real, again, sort of kind of statement signing by the club. Juventus have made now kind of a pretty decent comeback back into the Serie A table. I mean, they were well outside
Yeah,
of
they
the
were
top
eighth at
sort of
one point,
five
weren't
and
they?
six, and now I
Yeah,
think they're in like fifth. I think they're in fifth or fourth,
double check for you. Yeah,
and not too many spots behind.
they are fifth, 42 points, literally a point behind Atalanta, and then
Yeah.
Milan are on 49. So they're only 7 points off Milan as
So
well.
this sort of signing, I feel like, makes them get back into the Champions League. I think that's what they need, is to be
Yeah,
back in the Champions League. They can't. It's fine if they lose out on another title. I mean, maybe for Juventus fans, that's not fine. But I think, we didn't expect them to, win a title. I think what we were worried about was Juventus not finishing in the top four. If Juventus didn't finish in top four, that would be scary. And with this sort of signing, they finish in top four. I feel like undoubtedly there's no questions asked. Very young team that they're now kind of building now that they got rid of Kulusevski, which is kind of funny. I feel like if they had kept Kulusevski, you would kind of think Chiesa, McKennie, Kulusevski, Dusan Vlahovic, that would be an unbelievable kind of young team. But they've
Locatelli in
gotten rid
there
of
as well.
Kulusevski, Locatelli, so I would have think they've gotten rid of Kulusevski. Maybe that young sort of environment that they're trying to build is not really true, but it could still be the case. Maybe they are trying to build a young team, and with Chiesa, Vlahovic, McKennie, and like you said, Locatelli as well, maybe will be given a bigger role. This could be a team for the future with Juventus. And I feel like this is an opportunity for them to get back into the top four, which they need to finish in. I think that's bare minimum. This Vlahovic signing, regardless of the price, I think is a statement that they will finish in the top four, and they're confident of it. It's almost kind of like the Ronaldo signing when it comes to the fee and everything. It's kind of like, we're going to be signing a top striker so that we can be relevant kind of again. And so I think it's a great signing.
I mean, in my opinion, just thinking before I say it, best young striker behind Haaland. If you don't want to class Mbappe as sort of a striker, because he's not, in my opinion. He is like him, Kane and Haaland. For me, it's very rare to find strikers in that mold anymore. I think that the price is a lot, but then the profile of player is so rare, and to get the level of quality that he is, I actually don't think it is actually an overspend. And why I also think it's a lot more of a sort of a lock for Juventus to know that this is going to go well is because it's not a different league. I mean, they know what he can do for Fiorentina in this league. I mean, put him next to a bunch of talented players in that Juve team. He's not going to do. He's one of those players where he'll be able to score in any situation in any team, I think. So I think this is just one of those where they couldn't turn down this opportunity. I think if they saw him go to Arsenal or Spurs, they would not have been happy because they need a striker. They lost Ronaldo. Morata's not that good, to be honest with you. And they needed a striker at the end of the day. I think Osimhen would have been another option that they could have gone for from Napoli, but I think Vlahovic is the one. I think he's the ideal striker for them. he wanted to join Juve as well. I mean, it's always been his dream to join Juve. We all know that. So I think it's one of those that makes sense. The reason I didn't put it in my thing is because I bang on about that guy too much. And like you said, I'm hurt. I wanted him at Tottenham as a Kane replacement or even to partner Kane. So no, it's an obviously good signing. And like you said, for me, it has more of an, as much as the Gerson signing, for me, will have more of an impact on into sort of winning the title, and in terms of league importance, this will have an impact because Inter are going to go for 2 leagues in a row. Very, very monumental sort of achievement to make. Vlahovic will be in the long term. You could see sort of Juve winning 6-7 titles in a row again.
It feels like an old, the whole, they are the old lady, I think, of Serie A.
Like we still
it feels
have
like
that,
an old lady kind of move. Like,
100%.
yes, we've taken a hit. Yes, we've taken maybe a stab wound kind of here. But this sort of signing is like, we will be relevant and we will be back. It's
and what scares me, well, not even scares me, but what's the most interesting thing about this transfer is sort of what's going to happen when Fiorentina play Juventus, because Vlahovic was not sort of, he didn't adamantly say he's going to stay, but I thought he was going to stay. And the way he made out to me is, I'm trying to get this club back into Europe. They've given me everything. I want to get them back into Europe. Those fans are not happy. That's going to be interesting. I'm very much looking forward to that whenever Fiorentina play Juventus, because it'll be interesting to see how those fans react, because that's not only just Vlahovic now. I mean, in the past 2 years, Chiesa's also gone there from Fiorentina, and that's sort of their 2 crown jewels of young players in the past few years. So it's sad. It's sad to see people sort of don't really acknowledge that, because there's a lot of good teams in Serie A, but Juve, this is signified. I think Juve want to get back into that title winning sort of momentum and mood that they have been in for the past decade.
You come for Wout Weghorst here as your third.
No
the
doubt
large
about
man, the 6'6", beautiful Dutch donkey from Wolfsburg. He's gone to Burnley for 13 point something million pounds. Unbelievable. One of the best for you. One of the best for you this window.
Name me a better combination than Sean Dyche and Wout Weghorst, and I'll sit my drink and I'll wait for anybody in the comments, because you're not gonna find one, mate. I'm telling you now. The only reason I'm rating this so much, and don't get me wrong, this is regardless of it, this guy scores a goal every other game in the Bundesliga, so he is a goal scorer. So first of all, in a relegation battle, you need a goal scorer, you need goals. So he's going to add a lot of goals for Burnley. I think they've only scored 27 goals in the league this season, which is not great. It's not great. They've not conceded. I think they've conceded the least out of sort of the bottom 6 clubs in the Premier League, but they've also scored the least. So they needed the goals. The reason why it's number 3 for me is because, I mean, Newcastle come in with their fancy schmancy new money. They basically try to buy out your best striker and relegate you by doing that. And you basically, in my opinion, find a better replacement, and for half the price almost as well. So yeah, it's such a good deal. And I'll say it again. I think I said it to you, Jack, on a stream earlier on our big long transfer stream. But Dwight McNeil, Wout Weghorst, Maxwell Cornet, and if did also shine for it,
starting to look a little scary that front line. Yeah,
I'm not too against that. If they were sort of in Tottenham's front three, the quality of them sort of doesn't stand out. But Maxwell Cornet he's been a great signing. Dwight McNeil, I would love as a left wing back for Tottenham. I think he'd fit left wing back quite perfectly for Tottenham, and Wout Weghorst would be an amazing backup to Harry Kane. So all 3 of those players are very, very good players, and I think they'll work really well together. So I'm all for this signing. I think it's a great signing for Burnley. I don't know who's going to get relegated now. I have no idea who's going to get relegated.
Yeah,
now. The only 2 I can confirm is Norwich and Watford are the only 2 that I can confirm are going to go down, in my opinion. These 2 signings, sort of Newcastle signings and Burnley signings, I don't know who's going to go down now.
Doesn't believe in the Dean Smith revolution that seems to be happening. That's a bit interesting. I do probably agree with that. But Arthur Cabral, I believe he's Brazilian forward that came originally from Basel, I believe. I think he was from Basel originally in the Swiss league. He's gone to Fiorentina for 13.5 million pounds, I believe. I actually think this is a very clever signing by Fiorentina. I've actually seen this guy play before. I really did like the looks of him in the Europa League when I've seen him play. I just kind of thought, I was kind of like, this seems like the player that will be, maybe playing for, kind of like a Dortmund or, some kind of bigger Premier League club in like 4 or 5 years time. And he's moved to Fiorentina for 13.5 million pounds. I think he's 22, 23 years old. He's absolutely massive. Like, he's an absolute unit. So he'll replace Vlahovic well. So it's not like they're buying like a different sort of striker, which I kind of like about this. They're buying a similar striker that's really physical, really good in the air, just kind of a big bully sort of kind of striker. And I do kind of like that. So it kind of makes me confident that Fiorentina maybe won't really dip so hard in the league once they lose Vlahovic. Kind of
And
makes
they were
me
doing
think,
really well as well, weren't they? They were sort of really
so that's what
pushing
I'm
for a
worried
European
about.
spot.
That's what I'm worried about with them. It's like, do they just drop immediately? Do they just like take a huge hit? I feel like this sort of signing is a perfect sort of signing to maybe make them not really take that hit. And as well, like with Artur Cabral, like you could spend areas like 30, 40 million on a striker. You use half that fee to get, you use half the Vlahovic fee to bring in somebody. And Fiorentina didn't do that. They brought in somebody that I think was smart, somebody that's clever, somebody that will stay at the club for a few seasons. I thought it was a really, really clever sort of signing. It's not the flashiest signing, but I actually think the reason why it's in my top 5 is because I think it was a really smart signing. They brought in some other players as well. They brought in Nikone from Lille. I think they brought in one other player as well. They used the funds kind of smart. They used the funds in a very clever sort of way. So I'm actually quite proud of Fiorentina because considering we had a similar fee for Bale and we absolutely wasted it on so many different players.
So true.
To see a team like Fiorentina actually spend it quite wisely, especially on the striker position and the number 9, for them to spend it quite wisely, I think is actually puts them in my top 5. I think they deserve it. So
he's a massive guy as well. I've seen him very, very few, like once or twice, and he's huge. All I remember is he's huge. So yeah.
And so I just think it's a clever signing, and it kind of needs to be given a bit of light because I think it's one of those signings that goes under the radar. But for 4 for you, Robin Gosens, I think we already kind of ranted a lot about Robin Gosens, but he gets straight in there. So maybe we move on to your number 5, Wang Hee-chan. I mean, what makes Wang Hee-chan such a brilliant player for you at Wolves?
I love
14 million, I believe they had to pay or something.
It's only 14 million. I don't know if this is just me sort of raving about this player, but since he's in the Red Bull sort of organization, he's been so good. I love him so much. Even at Salzburg, particularly remembering with Haaland, he was amazing. And for me, this is why sort of Asian footballers are so hardworking and so dedicated to their craft. And I can't really think of many Asian footballers, or if any, that sort of have ever been sort of told or what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of not had the best attitude or been sort of seen as having a bad attitude towards the game or towards their teammates. They've always seemed to be 100% focused towards the game, and he's just an example of that. And his finishings, he reminds me of Son in terms of, as a Korean, those two players are so similar because his finishing is so similar to Son's. It's like they learn off each other when they go out on international breaks. He's quick. He's a pretty big guy. He's got great left and right for Wolves to partner him with Jimenez, to be a Jimenez replacement, to be surrounded by the quality of those teams. And even though they lost Traore, which I don't think is that serious to them, to bring in Hwang Hee-chan for 14 million pounds, I think is pretty amazing. I think he scored 4 goals in his first 5 or 6 games in the Premier League, and he was on fire. And he's sort of slowed off a little bit, but I definitely think that he's a Premier League quality striker. And it's another smart deal from Wolves. It's sort of letting players go and then finding replacements who are just as good. And I admire that about teams when you you can sell your best players and you don't drop off. That's something that you can really, really say there's something going on structurally within that club that allows that to happen, that allows the sort of the level to stay there and if not improve. So for me, I always look at signings and think if you've lost a good player or lost an important player to your team and found a replacement adequately that sort of is just as good for like half the price, I think it's a fantastic thing to do. So yeah, I'm all for Hwang Hee-chan. This is the personal one definitely for me, but he's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I think Wolves are going to be very happy that they've made that one a permanent deal.
I think they absolutely should be. It's a great replacement for Jota. just been a great signing in general. I really like Wang Hee-chan. I've always really liked Wang Hee-chan, and it's good to see that he's found a bit of a home. Good to see that he's found a good relationship with Jimenez as well. I think that will be nice to see. But my number 5 is Romain Favre. Probably, if you've ever heard of him, maybe because he has one of the best highlight reels, probably in all of probably in all of YouTube when it comes to footballers. But former Brest player, I think at SC Brest, Sporting Club Brest. Plays in Liga, has moved to Olympique Lyon for, I believe, 13.7 or something million pounds or something like that. And it's actually an unbelievable feat. The guy has been basically solely carrying a very, very kind of like lower level Liga side. He's been carrying them to like upper mid table. He's kept them out of relegation. He's been an unbelievable player when it comes to just playing in a really bad team. And I think that's why I'm really excited about this transfer. He's not gone to, a foreign league. He's stayed in Liga and has moved to a bigger Liga team, but has played for a really bad team and then has now gone to maybe a bit of a better quality sort of side. I see him just kind of taking off right away with Lyon. I see him just absolutely dominating. And I think eventually he will make a big, big move to a club. The guy is unbelievably talented. He's just kind of weirdly stayed at that club Brest for some time and has been, a bit under the radar. But I feel like anybody that's seen his highlight reels and seen his numbers would know that he is an unbelievable talent. I think for the fee, for the step up that he's making, it's just a great it's a great transfer. It's just unbelievable fee, not too big of a step up. I think it's just perfect for Romain Favre. I'm looking forward to it. I really think he's going to be really exciting there. Maybe eventually we'll do a bit of a highlight reaction on the guy, but really love this guy. Really think he's an unbelievable talent, and I think probably deserves to be in this top 5 because I know that Bruno Guimaraes I've left out, but to be honest, I look at these 5 transfers here. They're the ones I'm looking at here are very economical. They kind of mean a lot for the clubs that, are making these sort of signings. They'll have instant sort of impacts for whatever they're trying to achieve. I think a lot of them are statement signings that I've gone for. Just really kind of have, I've gone for maybe taken my bias out and have gone for very sort of like signings that are like really good statement signings for the clubs in general.
You know what? To be honest with you, I've seen a few highlights of Romain Favre. I've not seen a lot. He's very, very good. I hope he sort of is as good as he's made out to be, because I don't watch Brest at all. So I only have seen highlights, but it does seem like he will be as good as what he's made out to be on YouTube. My thing is, and this, I don't think this is a hot take in my opinion, and I want sort of Flat Cap Army and you to sort of chew on this for a bit, but I think now with this January window gone, I think Lyon have a better midfield than PSG. I genuinely believe that Lyon have a better midfield than PSG. Vlahovic, Favre, Shaqiri, Guimaraes gone. Even you got Lucas Paqueta in there. I genuinely still think that PSG midfield is worse than even Ryan Cherky for the Lyon midfield. I think that Lyon midfield is so much more technical. There's different elements to it. There's different players for it. I genuinely believe that Lyon have a better midfield at the moment. Obviously, they don't have a better forward line and possibly defense as well, but it's an ode. It's a commemoration to Lyon to show you sort of where they've come, especially again, like a team that's always getting purged. Every single time they get purged and they seem to do okay or stay floating. They might have a few blips, but they always seem to get in players that are under the radar and are going to make them money in the next 5 years. So I give Lyon all the credit, and it seems like Favre is going to be another one of those players.
Definitely. I completely agree. Let's move on to our worst signings. For me, we both kind of agreed on this one. I've gone for Dele Alli. The reason for this one is more has to do with the structure of the deal, because at the end of the day, if the guy plays, let's say they get relegated to the championship, he plays 40 games, they pay us 40 million for the guy. I find that kind of a bit scary for Everton. Is he plays a certain amount of games, he achieves a certain amount, he pays us 40 million, which I thought was which is ridiculous. I mean, no matter how well he plays, Dele Alli is not worth 40 million. No matter how well he plays, he's not worth that. And so I feel like that's just a horribly structured deal. Great for us, unbelievable business for Spurs, but a horrible deal for Everton. I just feel like it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
Smacks of desperation, doesn't it?
Smacks of desperation, but also just like a deal that they I don't know. They just didn't need to get over the line in that sort of way. They could
Mm,
have definitely bargained a bit better than that. It just felt
mm,
like a bit too easy. It felt like Paratici actually felt like kind of bullied them in that sort of argument. Like it really did feel that way. My
mm.
second one
That's
is
literally. I was just gonna say that is literally the exact same reasons for me, Jack.
yeah, felt like we
100% agree with
bullied
you.
them
By
and
the
that
way,
sort of but why?
100%.
But we felt like we like it's the whole meme that's like you would think that we were the ones like going into it like a bit
Like you
on
could
the
have
worst
anything.
hand. Like
Yeah.
we had more to lose. Um, we were in a tougher situation, and Everton just made it easy for us. Like that whole meme, even itself. Wait, you're paying us for Dele Alli? Like it's just I don't know. I think it's a horrible deal.
Mm,
You've gone for Julian Alvarez though as a
mm.
bad deal. I'm not sure if you rate it as your worst one, but regardless, I mean, why Julian Alvarez? Why are you not a
I've
fan?
rated it as my worst for Julian Alvarez himself because as much as I do rate him and I do think he's a very, very good player and sort of the next big player to come out of South America, I don't think this move does anything for his career. I think it almost hinders his career. I think he'll become a
Yeah,
better player and I think he'll
has Stefan
improve.
Jovic kind of vibes as a
Yeah,
Jovic
he will
vibes.
definitely improve under Pep Guardiola, and Pep Guardiola will teach him sort of ways of football that he might not have learned, and he will become a better player, a smarter player. But I don't think Man City put all their eggs in his basket. I still think Man City will bid for Haaland or try and go for Haaland or even try
Mm,
and get another striker in, which then automatically he's not going to get the game time that he needs and should get as a sort of, is he 19, 20, 21-year-old striker?
I
I
think he's like
just
22 or something.
yeah,
Actually, yeah.
I just think that it's one of those where for him, for City, great. You beat Man United to that deal. You got a very young, very good striker coming in. If he turned out to be as good as you say, again, another great piece of business, £17 million. But for him, I just don't see Man City putting all their eggs in that basket. And regardless, even if they don't sign a striker and do sort of say, right, you are a main guy, he might not start every game. Pep might sort of say, look, I still think that sort of a false nine or other players playing in that position are doing more until you fit in and bed
Yeah.
in. So I think it will be difficult for Julian Alvarez to sort of hit the floor running. And if he doesn't hit the floor running, I think Man City would just buy a better,
Yeah.
more established striker. So this is it's not a bad deal in terms of City, no way. £17 million for a striker like him is great. But for him himself, I'm looking at the player's perspective. I do think this is the worst deal of the five that I've got on here.
No, I think it rings Stefan Jovic vibes from back in the day when they got him from Fiorentina. They had Edin Dzeko and Sergio Aguero already on the books.
Mm,
It just didn't make sense. It was just kind of like his career is just going to get kind of stalled. His development's going to get stalled.
mm.
I kind of agree with you, and they probably will end up going for a bigger striker. I mean, the only benefit is maybe it just doesn't. Yeah, it's just not a good deal because then he's not even coming right now,
Yeah.
even to like
He'd go back on loan. Yeah.
he's going back on loan. So I don't. Yeah, it just doesn't. It's not a good deal at all. I feel like for at least for Julian Alvarez, like you said, not for Man City, but for Julian
Mhm.
Alvarez,
I mean,
I
they could
like that.
flip him. I think they could flip him for probably 30 million if he has a
Yeah.
decent, like a bit like what Ferran Torres did, where Ferran Torres, I think, is a great player, just didn't get played by Pep.
Mm,
And they still played him enough and had enough clout, sort of Man City, to be able to get 55 million out of him, out of Barcelona. So,
well, you
I
can
mean,
get
I
a
feel
lot
like
out
the
of
same thing will
Barcelona.
happen. Yeah, I feel like the same thing will happen with Julian Alvarez. I can see that definitely happening.
Mm. Yeah, I think that was well broken down. I kind of like that. Yeah, the worst for the player, not even for the clubs
Mm.
involved. But my second one is Rafinha. Thiago's, I believe, brother or
Oh
cousin or
yes,
whatever. Yeah,
of
the
course,
guy who's
yeah.
at PSG. He's gone to Real Sociedad for a loan sort of transfer kind of thing, a loan with an option to buy, I believe. I just think it's a horrible transfer. Real Sociedad, they're kind of clinging on to possibly getting top four in La Liga. This sort of signing, like I just think is just terrible. Like Rafinha is just one of those players that I feel like has always existed, Darius, but like you
Mm.
just don't really doesn't actually ever do anything. He just kind of exists and plays
Famous because he's
alongside.
got a better brother as a player, really.
Famous because he's got a really good brother. Famous
Yeah.
because he's played with good teams. Famous because he's always gotten injured and actually never really done anything. So no one ever knows whether he's actually good or not. I just saw this sort of signing in the transfers, looked at all the transfers across Europe's top five leagues. This one kind of stuck out to me. I was like, what a weird signing. Like, what a bad signing, especially
Mm.
because he's never really done well with the loans that he's been given. He's done it before with Inter. He's done it before with PSG. He's never really had good loan spells. And then as well, he's just not, I think, a great player. And Real
Mm.
Sociedad it's a really like tight table. up at the top. And Real Sociedad have a good opportunity to get into Champions League here. And I feel like they're just wasting it with this sort of signing. So that's the reason I've gone for it as being a bad one. You've gone for Dele Alli as well. I feel like we kind of broke it down maybe earlier on maybe the reasons why. Just really horrible structured deal for Everton. I feel like not a bad player for Everton actually bring in, just a horribly structured deal. Just a horribly structured deal.
I saw that figure. It blows. I said 100% said on the stream, if we got £10 million for Dele Alli, I'd bite your hand off. The fact that it could rise to £40 million. It's disgusting, mate. It's absolutely disgusting. Paratici, well played, my friend. Well played.
Absolutely. You come for Jean-Philippe Mateta, though, the former Mainz player who's been at Crystal Palace, it feels like, for about a season now. Highly rated when he came from Bundesliga, but they've signed him now, I feel like, on a permanent. So
permanent for £14 million, I believe it was.
So you're
not a lot of money, to be honest with you. I don't rate him. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's because he doesn't fit in at PSG at Crystal Palace, or he's not rated at Crystal Palace, but I haven't seen enough from him to sort of make that move permanent. And I'm pretty sure he was on his way out as well, or it looked like he was on his way out as well. So for them to confirm that signing for £14 million, and Crystal Palace have made some pretty shrewd deals in this year. I really do believe that they are sort of on the up and sort of negotiating with Donny van der Beek. I don't think you would have seen Crystal Palace do that with Roy Hodgson in charge. So they're going in a way that's sort of a young. I mean, look at Elise and the likes of Eze and all these Conor Gallagher, Mark Guehi. They're going for very, very good, very young players. So I think that £14 million, you could have gone and got somebody pretty good for that price.
Could have got a Romain Favre.
Romain Favre. I mean, you could have gone and looked for a striker. Wout Weghorst, I think, could have been perfectly fine for a Crystal Palace. I mean, Benteke is not the best. You go and get a better version of Benteke, don't really see how that's a problem. So for me, it was just poor usage of funds in a team that I think could have a better season than they actually realised, because I really do like the way Crystal Palace play, and I did not rate Vieira at the start of the season, but he's turned it around. And it just seems weird that somebody who didn't even really feature in that team that much is now being bought permanently for £14 million. It's just a very weird signing for me. I don't think it's
maybe the replacement to Benteke, but I see what you mean. I
just think I think you can even if you save the money and get a player on a free, like Sardar Azmoun is better than Jean-Philippe Mateta, and he costs £3 million. So it's just there was plenty, and like I say, we're sort of talking about a market that's even below Spurs, and I'm not even trying to discredit Crystal Palace for that, but they're shopping in a market that you could sort of take that risk on a player for such a small fee, because if a bigger club is going to come in for them, you've made a profit on them. So I think that they could have really gone for a better player, as opposed to sort of going with what they know and paying £14 million for Jean-Philippe Mateta. I don't rate him that much, unfortunately.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Aubameyang, I've gone for.
I'm surprised at this. I really want to see what your reasoning is for this.
I think you'll maybe see where I'm coming from with this.
Go on.
Everybody, I kind of hate and kind of drag on kind of Barcelona a lot, because I think they're just a team that I never really liked.
Deserve it, mate.
But I've just never really liked the hype train with Barcelona and kind of the Barcelona fanboys. And so the reason being is because for all the people that I've heard saying, really like what Xavi's doing over there, Xavi's trying to, he's getting the mentality right. He's fixing everything from the bottom up. And but he brings Aubameyang in.
After selling Aguero.
Yeah, like after seeing Aguero
not even selling Aguero, like he left, exactly. Yeah, unfortunately, he retired.
After seeing Aguero leave, you bring in somebody that's known as a troublemaker, somebody that's known that shows up late for training, somebody that we know is not really the best influence on maybe younger players, somebody that we know is just a bit of kind of a happy-go, just a nice guy that just kind of has a good time. And if Xavi's supposed to be kind of like reinvigorating the Barcelona system and reinvigorating the Barcelona team, you would think that Aubameyang is one of the last players you would want in that team to kind of distract you from that. I think Adama Traore in comparison is actually a great signing, because Adama Traore has played for Barcelona. He understands the importance and the meaning of playing for Barcelona. Aubameyang doesn't know that. In fact, Aubameyang as well would have rather be playing for Real Madrid, because he always wanted to play for Real Madrid. Now he's playing for Barcelona, and I think he's just joined there because it's the only big club that offered him
a
Correct.
contract. Yeah,
And so I'm really worried that he will be a huge distraction to
yeah,
whatever. I don't believe it, but whatever people are telling me that Xavi's building and whatever Xavi's supposed to be kind of working on at Barcelona, I feel like Aubameyang is a huge distraction to it. Maybe it's just Laporta, just making a yet again another horrible signing. I'm not exactly sure because I feel like Xavi does have some say on the signing. So this one I just think is horrible just because it's of course it's a free. Of course you're not signing him on tremendous wages, but if you are trying to like rebuild the team again in a new image, Aubameyang is not the person that I would want in that image. I hate to say.
100%. And you know what else? I completely agree with you. The only reason I didn't put it as my worst signings is because I was looking at it from sort of spiteful Tottenham fan side, and I'm thinking Barcelona, you just took Arsenal's basically best striker and left them with Lacazette and Nketiah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty bad signing. You know what else doesn't make any sense to me? Barcelona still seem like they're panicking a lot. I mean, why not just sort of, instead of giving this guy, and I know he took a big cut. I mean, he's on 100 grand a week now, Barcelona, but why not bring somebody in on loan for 6 months to cover for your sort of striking deficiencies, and then sort of go all out for a player in the summer? Because I think they're going to go for Haaland, and I think they can probably afford Haaland, maybe just if they sell sort of like a De Jong or somebody like that. But it just doesn't make sense now. You've got him on the books. I don't know how long the contract is. It a 2-year contract, I believe, or whatever. I mean, he's
I'm
30,
not sure.
33, 34. He finished in terrible terms with Arteta. He's still sort of giving backhanded sort of insults to Arteta in the interviews at Barcelona. So it's not a great look. And to be honest with you, is
Even
he
also the whole
actually?
Dembele situation. Dembele,
He's
is
still
having
there.
he's a bad sort of influence in the dressing room.
Mhm.
Aubameyang's not going to be a good influence in the I'm just worried that I'm
A lot of
hearing
people, I think, a lot of
basically what
people
it
think he's
is.
going
We're
to do
supposed to be
better.
hearing that Barcelona is supposed to be getting. We're not usually don't usually curse on this channel too much, but Barcelona is supposed to be getting their shit together.
Yeah,
And this is not a signing where Barcelona gets their shit together for me.
it's
This is a signing like
confusing.
that's just like, what are you doing?
It's
Kind of
so
thing.
confusing. It's like they need to have a striker over the age of 32 on their books. It's like part of the Barcelona rules or something, because like you just didn't need to make that signing. I know that sort of, even when you bought Ferran Torres literally at the start of the window. So it's like you basically bought a striker in. I genuinely don't get it. It'd have been smarter if they'd gone and taken Cavani off of Manchester
Yeah,
United's hands or something like
yeah,
that, where at
yeah.
least he's a very hardworking 34-year-old striker, and you can see that sort of working out for Barcelona. But this is weird, man. This is very, very weird. And you know what? A lot of people say, and that's what I was going to say. A lot of people say sort of Aubameyang was playing poorly because he didn't want to be at Arsenal, didn't care. Like, who's to say he's going to sort of turn back into the Aubameyang of old? I think he's just going to
I don't
continue
think he
exactly.
will. That's
I
my
think he'll
other thing as
continue
well.
exactly where he left off. So yeah, I mean, they're putting a lot of eggs in a guy's basket who's got not a very good track record. So it'll be quite
I'm
entertaining
worried.
to see what happens and if it actually works out, because they'll switch on him very quickly if he starts playing
Exactly.
exactly like he
I'm
did at
worried.
Arsenal.
I just think it's not. It just doesn't. It just distracts from what they're trying to do there, and that's why I'm worried about it. It
Agreed.
just kind of defeats the whole purpose of what they're trying to do over there. I feel like signing up Aubameyang. Dylan Marcandi, though, you've gone for as a bad signing. Is it maybe on Spurs' part? I'm actually curious about that.
Um, yeah, I
Even
mean,
for Blackburn, do you think it's a bad signing?
it's unlucky for Blackburn because he did his hamstring, didn't he, in
Yeah,
the
I
first
guess.
games,
Yeah, they
which
wouldn't
is
have known that.
horrible news. But in terms of Tottenham, I just think it sort of symbolizes how I feel that we've treated the youth and the
Yeah,
academy in the
I
club. It's
agree.
okay, cool. We haven't sort of got a Cobham or even a Hayland or even a Carrington, but you've got very talented players in that Tottenham academy, and that Tottenham academy is very good. It's not the greatest in the world, but it's very good academy. And the issue is not the academy, and it's not the players in the academy. It's the lack of sort of a direct pipeline to the first 11. And I'm annoyed to see that we kept certain players over Dylan Markande, because it's not just his
Right.
talent that I liked. It's the fact that the kid supported Tottenham from when he was a kid. He was a Tottenham fan from a young kid, first ever British Asian player to play for Tottenham. It's a real symbolic thing. And I think he really, really cherished that. And I think he really did love the club. And I think even if somebody
We
isn't
kind of just spat in the face of that. Now
yeah, even if somebody's not the quality of a Bergwijn or even the quality of, for example, I'm trying to think of other wingers, like even Lo Celso used to play out wide, like a forward thinking player. Markande will want to play for Tottenham and will give his all regardless. And I would rather him, who's getting better, who is talented but getting better, than somebody like an Ndombele who's extremely talented but doesn't even want to play for Spurs. So for me, you should be trying to keep these sort of players. You should be wanting these players to be in your team. I just don't see why we let him go for 500k. I know he didn't sign a contract. We can't force a guy to sign a contract. He obviously wanted to get game time, but the reason he didn't sign a contract is because he's probably saw a bunch of wingers still coming into the club and him not getting an opportunity, and everybody sort of coming down with COVID and him still not getting an opportunity. And I just think when you see that happen, you just think, for my own career, as much as I love this club, I do have to move on. So very unfortunate he got injured, but I just think it sort of epitomizes how Tottenham treat that academy, and hopefully things change, because again, there are players in that academy who are very, very good. I mean, Harvey White, there's only 4 midfielders now, and Harvey White's been told that he's not. It's 3-year contract. Is that what it is? Yeah. Barcelona finished. Barcelona, they also finished. I can't believe that.
Just quickly, actually, I know we're distracted from the Makandi thing, but even the other, I was this close to putting the Ferran Torres one in here as well. This close. Because as well, the Ferran Torres one, I find it like they didn't underpay, for the guy. They didn't. And that's my biggest thing is sometimes even transfers, even if it's a great player, sometimes you're like, well, if you didn't underpay for them, then I sometimes don't think it makes it a great transfer, because sometimes it's also about the deal. It's about the actual fee. It's about how 100%. It's negotiated. It's like the Dele Alli situation. If Dele Alli had just gone on a free,
I was just about to say the Diaz one as well, sort of Liverpool being smart. It's so true.
If Diaz had gone for 80 million, I would not say that's a good deal, because you're like, that's a big risk. The fact that he's gone for like 40, 50 million, whatever it is a good deal. Dele Alli, the same thing. If Dele Alli had gone to Everton for free, I wouldn't say that's a bad deal. I wouldn't say that's a bad deal for Everton. But the way that it's structured, where we might get paid 40 million, actually, we won't even, not even an if, we will get paid 40 million.
Is that what it is? So it's based on literally appearances.
I think it's a certain number of appearances at a certain stage.
Terrible.
We get paid 40 million. So we get paid 40 million at one stage for Dele Alli. I think that's makes it a bad deal. And I think this is the same thing with like the Ferran Torres thing with Barcelona, where it's like his valuation was around 40 million pounds. They paid 50. And you're like, why are you overpaying? Why are you overpaying? Why this player in particular as well are you overpaying for? You could have negotiated. I don't know. It's just, why are you getting bullied on the negotiating table? It's another example. Barcelona always get bullied, I feel like, in negotiating.
I think it's one of them things where it's a bit of like an identity crisis, where they're sort of like, they still want to think that they're Barcelona, not realizing they're in the Europa League. Barcelona in the Europa League. That is shocking. It shows everything.
And that money was a loan that they were using. Like the money they paid for Ferran Torres, it's not even their own money. It's a bank's money. It's that they need to pay back eventually. So I just thought
they're putting their eggs in a big
great
basket.
signing. But Ferran Torres, great signing. But Ferran Torres is around 50 million pounds. Like, it's not like a signing where I'm like, wow, what a screaming deal for Ferran Torres.
Especially if you have to balance those books with getting rid of like a Frankie de Jong, for example. If you have to end up selling Frankie de Jong to sort of fund Ferran Torres and Adama Traore, then don't know if that's great business in terms of. But I just think Barcelona are washed up now. I just think that they want to still believe that they are of the level that they are, and they will always be able to attract players. But Real Madrid are significantly clear of them, and it's going to take a long time for Barcelona. For me, in my opinion, for Barcelona to get back to where they were, but. Again, I don't know what I don't know how they're doing what they're doing. I thought they had no money. Obviously, this loan is big enough for them to start with invest. But what if these signings don't go well? What if they don't get into the top 4 again? What if they bomb out of the Europa League in the first round against Napoli? It's going to look awful. It's going to look so bad, mate. So I agree with you completely.
That's why the Barcelona signings are scarier than you think. Dele Alli, I think you put a lot of good points. It's just it's a huge indictment of how we treat our youth players. It's a huge indictment of just maybe, I think it actually connects to, just I don't want to make this a huge Tottenham sort of thing, but I think it actually connects to the fact that we cycle through so many managers, and the managers we don't back. So then the managers feel like their job is always at risk with every single game they play, because they don't have good enough players. And those good enough players have also put up like a big kind of, fuss when they don't play. So it just means then that the youth players just never get involved, because the managers feel like it's too much of a risk. And the players that they even do play are probably going to be upset if there's a youth player that's play ahead of them. So I think It's just been a bad cycle. My fourth worst for me has been Trippier. And the reason why is just because I think you're signed. This is what I'm wondering. Did Trippier, is he signing up for, as he's 31 years old? Let's get this out of the way. He's 31 years old. He was just playing for Atletico Madrid in the Champions League and has also won a league title last season. He's now going to be fighting every tooth and nail to get out of the relegation battle. Did Trippier know he's signing up for this?
Like, a very, very nice contract, my friend.
That's what I'm worried. So that's why I think it's a bad signing, because I'm like, I don't know if you're signing a player that's going to be giving his all in order to get out of the relegation battle. Like, I don't think Trippier is going to be doing his all to get out of relegation. I don't think he has that sort of like survival. I think Bruno Guimaraes will be giving more than Trippier, because at the end of the 100%. Day, Bruno Guimaraes, despite being a better player, has more to prove than Trippier does. Trippier doesn't have anything to prove, I think, in the Premier League anymore as well. So I'm kind of a bit worried about this transfer, because I'm kind of like, £13.5 million for a 31-year-old, like, who is kind of, you would think would probably be kicking off his, shoes and want to play for like Mallorca or like something like that kind of player. Like, I kind of thought he wouldn't go to Newcastle. Like, it just seemed like not the right situation for him. I feel like it's a bad transfer, because I'm worried whether Trippier actually will be giving his best to Newcastle, and Newcastle need players to give their best in order for them to survive. I'm not sure Trippier is going to be giving his best. I think they're forgetting they bought a 31-year-old right back.
I think it's the same. I think also in the Premier League, your fullbacks have to be very dynamic, especially with the quality of wingers and forward players. So for his sake, and for the fact that Eddie Line plays a high line, and the fact that hopefully Trippier will be able to bust his gut and defend, the only reason I don't really think it's terrible is because of who was their right back before. I genuinely don't even know who Newcastle.
I think it was James Murphy and Manquillo.
For me, when you say those two names, I'd rather have Trippier, which means I can't put him in my top 5.
That's
but
true.
Everything you said, I didn't really think about it like that. I never really took that time to think.
I felt the same way with Spurs. If he came back to Spurs, I never said like, let's get Trippier back, because I was like, I don't think we're realizing signing a 31-year-old who would probably be, like I said, rather be playing for Las Palmas or like something like that.
I think you're very true about that. I think if they do well and they're winning games and they're sort of on a good win streak and they climb up the table and they're 14th, 13th, and you can sort of confirm that you're not in the relegation spot, I think Trippier will probably have a fantastic season or fantastic half season. If it's a tooth and nail fight, like I said, every single game, all the way until match day 38, don't know if his heart's in it. I will agree with you on that. Don't know if his heart's in it.
Chris Wood for you, bad signing. I mean, maybe because they overpaid.
My thing is, right, this is my reason why Chris Wood is a bad signing. I think Newcastle is so incredibly shameless to try and relegate your rivals by buying their best striker, only for their rivals to buy a better striker for half the price. I think that is shameless.
Egg on
your face. And I think you just need to basically take the L and pray that you don't get relegated. Because if Newcastle get relegated after trying to basically relegate Burnley by buying their best striker, it's going to look awful. So I'm just saying, I don't think, you know what, like you said, I know you're a fan of Chris Wood. I'm a fucking big fan of Chris Wood. Excuse my language. I really, really do like Chris Wood a lot. I think he is sort of the perfect backup striker, where you probably won't mind coming off the bench. You'll definitely have an influence off the bench. But I mean, Newcastle, who can throw their money at anything, £25 million for Chris Wood. I mean,
you would think,
slap another 25 million on there, which I know they had the money to, and you could probably get yourself a pretty decent striker for that price. So
we all wish he was valued around that, but he isn't.
Yeah, it just seems like it literally just seems like they just said, you know what, Burnley, I don't like you. I just don't really want to see you do well, so we're just gonna buy you a striker, and that's why that's how we're gonna get rid of you. Yeah, Burnley. That's why Weghorst is in my top 5 best, because they literally said, okay, we understand what you're going to do to us. If you want to take us out like that, we already have a replacement. I don't think they were expecting 25 million. And I think Sean Dyche was laughing at Newcastle when they said he can have 25 million for Chris Wood. So great player, and literally great player. I love Chris Wood so much, but nah, Newcastle, you're shameless, mate. You're very, very shameless for attempting that. And I hope that Weghorst sort of does hit the ground running and bags a lot of goals. I really want him to do well. So yeah.
Yeah. It's good to see Chris the Goat Wood, though, be valued at such a price, though. It is beautiful to see.
I'd say 100, but that's just me, innit? That's just me.
For me, my fifth and worst signing and last sort of, bad rankings of signings is Vitaly Mikalenko from Dynamo Kiev. Believe me, there's no bigger fan of the Yankos. There's no bigger fan of the Ukrainian players in the world.
I love you.
I just feel like 22 million pounds. Like,
is that how much they paid for him?
Yeah, they paid 21.5 million pounds for the guy, valued around 15 million pounds. I just am like, the reason why I like those sort of players is because I feel like sometimes there are deals to be had for maybe a player that not everybody knows about that actually could be world class or whatever. That's why I kind of like those sort of countries and those sort of leagues, is because you can find diamonds in the rough. You can find diamonds in the rough sort of players. And when you're paying 21.5 million pounds for one of them, I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose, for like going to a league like that. The step up he's going to have to make to the Premier League is ginormous. So I'm just worried, like, let's say he doesn't work out, then you're like, that's a big fee for a player that, let's say, just doesn't cut it in the Premier League.
Given the situation Everton are in as well, sort of. And I did not realize Everton are in place, which is, I really didn't know how bad Everton's situation was. I didn't realize that it's the sort of job that Frank Lampard does have on his hands. So
yeah. So I'm just worried about the signing. I'm like, let's say he hits the ground running, great, but they still paid a lot. Million. They still paid a lot for it. So I'm worried, because I could see the signing not working out, and then them kind of looking at it like, it's not like it was a 10 million pound, 12 million pound signing. It was a 21.5 million pound signing.
You're going to try and sort of force your way to stick with it because you want him to come good. So no. And obviously selling Digne as well to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Don't know what on earth they were thinking. I don't know if he was sort of low on sort of time on his contract or whatever, but to sell Digne to Aston Villa was a ridiculously terrible. I should have actually put Digne to Aston Villa in my worst, to be honest with you, because I
almost put it in there too as another signing where, like, are you overpaying? It's like one where it's like, are you overpaying?
Not even that, mate, to be honest with you. From the side of Everton, as in, you're in such a situation where you need your best players, and you sort of got rid of him for a fee, and I know he wanted to leave.
Rafa didn't like him. I think that's what it was. Is Rafa didn't
like you got, and then you go and sack the manager. Like, you sold him, and then you sacked the manager a few weeks. It's awful down there. It's very, very awful down there. So Digne's lucky he's not in my top 5 as well. I think a lot of people raving about Digne being one of the best signings. I think he's a good player, and I think he'll fit Gerrard's.
I don't think he's even more close best signing. I don't think he's even more close.
I don't think he's in the best. I think he's definitely closer to being one of the worst signings. I think Matt Target to Newcastle is better than Digne
to be fair. And that's crazy. And that's crazy to actually say out loud. Just to wrap up, winners and losers, I've kind of picked them for us here. Inter Milan with the Robin Gosens signing. Inter Milan it's actually just the Serie A. The Serie A has made a lot of sensible moves, I actually feel like. Inter Milan make great signings with Robin Gosens. I think that's spectacular. That wins them the league. Juventus with the Dusan Vlahovic signing. Pushes them into top 4. That sort of signing, great statement signing, as well as Dennis Zakaria, who we haven't even mentioned, which is probably a crime that we haven't even mentioned that signing. But
do you want my hot take?
Yeah, won't do well. Much. You don't think he'll do well?
I don't rate him that much at all.
Interesting.
I think he's good, but I think the price is better than the player, in my opinion. I think the fact that he's €5 million is a big sort of no-brainer. I think if he was his normal sort of market value, I don't think anybody would really go for him.
Interesting.
That's just a hot take. That is just a hot take.
Yeah, well, I'll see if the comments blow up for it. Fiorentina, they signed a Kone, they signed Artur Cabral, and they signed one other player that I'm forgetting about. But I actually thought they had a clever window they spent the money wisely, and they didn't spend all of it. And so I think that was very clever of them. My losers are just most Premier League teams, like most. Like, if I looked at the entire Premier League table, Manchester United had a bad window. Everton had a bad window. Arsenal had a bad window. Man City had a bad window. Chelsea, I guess, didn't even sign anybody. West Ham, had a bad window. You could say Wolves. I think Wolves had a good window. I mean, they re-signed Chan. So that's a good one.
Can't really
Brighton,
think
you
of
know, it's
many.
hard to know. Like, yeah, but like the rest of the teams that maybe needed to improve a bit didn't really improve. And so you
Hmm.
just kind of think of at least all the teams that are battling for top four, let's say, all the
Hmm.
teams battling for top four, apart from Spurs, had a bad window. And I
Hmm.
think that's kind of interesting. So Spurs actually had the best window of all the teams battling for top four.
Agree.
So I think that says a lot. So Premier League for me, all having kind of a lot of teams in there having a bad window. Barcelona, I feel like had a bad window. Adama Traore was weirdly, I think, their best signing of the Ferran Torres and Aubameyang signings included. I think the Adama Traore was actually the most sensible. I think
Mm.
that would make sense. Somebody that actually, like I said, will fight for the badge, knows what it means to play for Barcelona from the academy, actually could tear up La Liga when you do think about it.
Mm.
Um, and just I don't know, he's not really known for being too much of a bad personality outside the club
No,
either. I think
no,
it's
no,
just
no.
like he's just a good guy and knows what it means to play for the club. And I think it's actually a sensible signing. Aubameyang, on the other hand, bad signing. Ferran Torres paid way too much, as I explained before. So I think they are kind of losers when it comes to it. And then Porto, and like I said, all of this comes from loan money. It's not their own money
Yeah,
again. They
yeah.
wasted their own money really poorly. I thought that isn't their own money. Porto, I actually thought had a bad window because they got rid of Luis Diaz and
No.
they got rid of Sergio Oliveira, that one player,
Where
to
did he go
Roma.
to?
He
He
went
went
to
to Roma.
Roma
Oh,
with
interesting.
Jose. So their best
Interesting.
player in Sergio Oliveira for a long time. It's kind of like it's like when Valencia got rid of Danny Parejo to Villarreal.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
kind of like that sort of
That was
signing where it's
really
like,
bad because he wasn't
yeah,
even like he was, what is he, 30 when he left, and he was
yeah.
still carrying that team sort of on his back. So that's a great
Sergio
point to make.
Oliveira to Roma feels similar to that.
Great
And
point.
then they got rid of Luis Diaz as well. I think not a good window for Porto, really bad window for Porto. But then again, they've gotten some good transfer fees. So like
Mm.
they, think about how much they got for Fabio Silva
30,
at
yeah, 30
Wolves.
mil.
Think about how much they got rid of for Luis Diaz. Like
Hmm.
some good actually some good sales. But I think they're going to win the league, or like they're close to winning the league. Porto, I believe. So
Really?
I don't
Okay.
know. I'm a bit worried. Maybe we'll see how they finish, but I don't think you could see them as losers. I think there's one other team. Roma actually didn't have a bad window. They actually brought
No.
in some good players.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of the show, everybody. That's kind of breaking it all down. Thank you to Darius for joining me for this one. It's been a pleasure breaking
It's
this
been great. It's
down
been
with you.
amazing
Kind
as
of makes
always.
sense of what's actually happened in the transfer
Mm.
window. But Darius, where can people find you? Where can people see more of you, my man?
Oh, you can find me at Paxton Road. Obviously, you can see it's just on the name there. And I really, if there's any video that I would like to check out, skim through the transfer video that we went through. If you can find me in my hour, I think I was on the second hour. You can literally watch me, Jack, and Dom P, and Chris from Let's Talk Tottenham talk about very similar things and more Tottenham based. So if you do want to see another video of me and Jack, please go over to Paxton Road and look at it. It was about 5 hours streaming. It was about not even last week, 3 days ago now. So please check that out. The amazing Jack's on there. And again, thank you so much to Jack for letting me on the channel and always talking about my favorite part of football, which is individuals, players and signings. So obviously, I think we will be speaking about other things and sort of our predictions and stuff like that. But I think we'll save that for another time because we don't want to overbore you. But no, it's always a pleasure to be on your channel. And it's, you know what, you've opened my eyes to a few signings, and I will have to say that Aubameyang signing is so bad. And I didn't
I
realize
love
how
that you
bad it
kind of
was
didn't think
until you
about it
saw.
the
I was
way
actually going to say, you know
I had
what?
to
I was
explain
actually
it
going to
to
put
you.
Barcelona in my winners because I thought, you know what? Ferran Torres, as much as they did pay 50 million, he's a very good player. Traore is going to run rings around La Liga defenses.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to touch him. And then Aubameyang, you stole him off Arsenal, so I'm happy. But you know what? The amazing explanations from Jack.
It's just more has to do with what's
it.
at stake for them. It's kind of like, it's
can't
not like
believe
it's their
they've
own
done
money anymore. Like
It doesn't make any sense.
they're pissing away, that's not even their own money. And that's why I feel like it's more at stake. And so that's why I don't like those signings. Like I would be stressed. I would be stressed if I was working there. I would be stressed.
Very stressful, that whole club. But thank you so much. Honestly, it is a genuine pleasure every single time I come on the show. And Flat Cap Army, always the best comment section in YouTube history. So thank you so much as well, guys.
Absolutely. Really well said, Darius. So everybody head on over to Paxton Road, catch them over there to see more Darius. The road to 1,000 is on, almost there, everybody. It feels like I could wait forever for it because we've honestly been absolutely flying. So I'd be fine if we slowed down for a little bit, to get there. I'd be fine if we kind of trudged our way over. but really do appreciate all the support. Martin Walton, to Simon Stevens, to Par Miguel Escobar, to the absolute GOAT himself, Spurs related James, thank you for joining. James Bushel as well. Just making sure I'm not missing any others. I know I saw Vince Vega in there, C. Dancer, Derek Hutchinson, Ben Kaufman, so many others, Alexander Hilton. Really do appreciate all the support, everybody. Really do appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. I do believe, Darius, I'm not sure when it's going to be happening. Darius and I will figure it out between each other. We'll do another stream breaking down kind of our league predictions and kind of taking a look at that. I'm also going to be doing a video pretty soon on some sort of highlight reactions. I'm also going to take a look at some old videos of mine while we're kind of getting close to 1,000, and I'm going to break down, you know, my own manager predictions, which managers will get sacked. I made big predictions on that, so we will have lots of content coming out on this channel very, very soon, everybody. But like always, please please subscribe, hit that notification bell to never miss another live stream with Darius and I like this one, and we will be seeing you. And come on, you Spurs.